Hey you guys, it's Britt. Tonight I'm here to share with you the case of Alexis Sharkey. If you're interested, please keep watching. Alright you guys, so I have been following the case of Alexis Sharkey since the day that the news broke, and I waited to make this video because I wanted to gather more information before I came out and just started speculating and guessing as to what might have happened. I think that that can be intriguing for people that follow true crime, but for this one I really wanted to wait, and I try to do that with newer cases, to at least wait a little while to see what other information comes out, and that's exactly what I did in this case. I am going to put a trigger warning in the beginning of this video because I will be discussing recreational drug use and also discussing roundabout the topic of DV. I will put text on the screen because I'm referring to it as DV throughout this video so that the video doesn't get flagged. I'm going to share some pictures of Alexis as well in case you guys have no clue who I'm talking about. Alexis Sharkey was a 26-year-old. I'm going to use the word influencer because that's what people understand sort of this role as, but what I've learned is that she actually couldn't stand the word influencer, but the general public understands kind of what that role is on social media. So she was 26, she lived in Houston, Texas, and she was very popular on social media. She had a very fair following at the time of her passing. But on top of being what's known as an influencer, she was also working with Monat, which, if you guys don't know what Monat is, they are a hair care and skincare, more recent skincare brand. They are a multi-level marketing company. And I've actually done a video on Monat. It was over the summer, and I shared my views on the company. So if you're interested in the company itself, what they do, what my thoughts on the company are, I'm going to leave that video linked down below for anyone who has no idea what Monat does. So Alexis was actually a Pennsylvania native, but she had recently moved to Houston, Texas with her husband, Tom Sharkey. Now, there was quite an age difference between Alexis and Tom, and I think that this comes into play later on in the story when I give you guys a little bit more information. I think that what this shows is, I know a lot of people use the age is just a number, age doesn't matter, but I do think that in certain circumstances, the age can come into play because people can be on two different paths in their life. The older person might have already done the whole going out and being social thing, and they want to be at home, and they might not necessarily want their younger spouse or significant other to be out partying and socializing. They might want someone who wants to be a homebody with them. Not all the time, but it does come into play sometimes. So Tom and Alexis were married in December of 2019. They were actually only married for not even a year when she ended up passing this past November. So one thing that I really want to share with you guys before we get into the timeline of this story is that Alexis had confided in a couple of close friends that her marriage with Tom, even though things looked picture perfect on Instagram, things were not picture perfect at home. She said that there was some DV going on in the house and things were kind of in the dumps as far as their marriage goes. So I want you to keep that in mind. In close proximity of when her life ended, she had told friends that there were issues in the marriage and that there was DV going on. A few more things that you guys should know about Tom Sharkey I want to go over right now so you guys have more of a picture of who Tom was. Tom Sharkey does have a history of DV, not only with Alexis, but with his ex-wife. In my personal opinion, what I've heard about Tom, I think it's pretty easy to see that Tom had a fair amount of jealousy. I think he was also seeking control over Alexis. I think that she was a social butterfly who was gaining popularity on Instagram and social media. And in my personal opinion, I don't think that that's what Tom really wanted. You know, when he met Alexis, she wasn't this social media presence with 20,000 followers who looked at her every story and every picture that she posted. One other thing I want to share with you guys that Tom did to his ex-wife, he sent her employer very provocative photos of his ex-wife as to it's like a very vindictive move. I cannot imagine what kind of man would divorce or break up with a woman, or anyone for that matter, and take their significant other's private photos and send them to an employer. I cannot reconcile that as hard as I can try. Like, I really don't understand that at all. To me, all that it does is reiterate that Tom Sharkey is very vindictive and is out to embarrass anyone who is not in his life or willing to play the part anymore. The last thing, I actually want to read this to you guys. I got this text from Annie 10 to Life. She's done a few videos on Alexis Sharkey. Shout out to Annie, she's amazing. I'm going to link her channel down below as well, just as a reference for you guys. Alexis went on a brand trip with Monat and they were in Mexico. Well, if you guys have seen these influencers, when they go on these brand trips, they do a ton of posting on social media. They do that anyway, but I think it's almost like amped up a little bit when they do the brand trips. So she was in Mexico. So Tom decided to text her at 1:30 something in the middle of the afternoon. You can imagine Alexis is probably there just, you know, chatting with her friends and taking pictures, sitting by the pool, having a good time. And she gets this text from her husband. He said, "Since you are 100% social media and not ever living in the moment, I feel it's fitting and you will embrace the social media swarm. I am filing for divorce. You need way more from me than I am, and I feel inadequate to fill your expectations. You are a selfish individual, and I'm sorry I'm not the same as you. You will be okay. You will persevere. You need what is going to happen. I'll be moved out before you get home. I wish you well and you will do great. I will always love you and will only wish you the best. Keep on social media on." I don't understand what he meant with that. And he signed it, "Your ex-husband." Alexis did respond and she said, "This is because I'm posting on my story? You know, we literally came here to be creative and take pics. I'm on a girls' creative getaway and you view this as a problem." And I think that text really speaks to the amount of control and mind games that he wanted to play with Alexis. And in my personal opinion, between the DV experience that she was sharing with close friends, mixed with her growing popularity on social media, mixed with his vindictive, controlling personality, I think that things were already bad, and the events in between Thanksgiving and that Saturday that I'm about to go over, I feel like it just kind of stacked on top of one another. And I'm looking at Tom with a major, major side eye right now. So now that you guys know just a little bit about Alexis and what her life was like day to day as of lately, let's talk about how her life ended. On November 28th of 2020, there was a city worker in Houston who drove by on this road, and he looked over and saw what he thought was a mannequin's legs, sticking out of some bushes or shrubbery. What he saw on the side of the road was actually not a mannequin at all. It was the body of Alexis Sharkey. So that happened on November 28th. Let's rewind a little bit and talk about what happened leading up to the worker finding her on the side of this road where she was a resident in Houston, Texas. So she was found on Saturday. Let's go back to Thanksgiving, which would have been on Thursday. Alexis decided that she was going to have more of a Friendsgiving instead of your traditional Thanksgiving where you have family over. She was going to go over to her friend Tanya's house. So Alexis's friend Tanya was actually someone that she found on Bumble BFF. That's a website that you can go to find friends if you move to a new city and you just don't know anyone and you want to make some friends. You can use this app. I've never personally used it, but as I understand it, it is strictly platonic friendships, and the app makes it easy to find people in your area that have similar interests. So that's how Tanya and Alexis knew each other. They were not lifelong friends, they were not super long-term friends, but they had known each other for a short time. So Alexis decided to spend Thanksgiving over there. After the meal, they hung out for a little while, and Alexis decided that she wanted to go to a local bar. The person that she went to the bar with is actually important to the storyline. His name is Sebastian, and based on what I've seen, he was a potential love interest of Alexis. I am not sure if it was a friends with benefits thing. I am not sure if she wanted to pursue something a little bit outside of that. I'm not sure, but I do know that they talked on Instagram in DMs and they seem to be friendly with each other. So after Alexis goes to the bar with Sebastian, has some drinks, she's under the influence, but she wants to stop by Tanya's house to pick up some personal belongings that she had left there since she did spend Thanksgiving Day at Tanya's house. So if Tanya had responded, Alexis's plan was to stop by there, pick up whatever she had over there, and then go home. But Tanya did not answer. So after that 3 a.m. text that she sent to Tanya, she decided that Tanya's probably not awake. She was going to make her way home. So she did just that. She went back to her home that she shared with her husband, Tom, who, I want you guys to think about this for a second. Tom was at home. Alexis comes in after not spending Thanksgiving Day with him, coming in the middle of the night, most likely under the influence of at least alcohol. And there was reported issues in the marriage anyhow. So when Alexis got home, it was in between 3:15 and 3:30. There were already issues in the marriage. She didn't spend Thanksgiving with her husband. She spent it with friends. Then she comes home at 3:15 in the morning, 3:30 in the morning, under the influence of at least alcohol. And in my mind, I can tell you guys, if I was in Tom Sharkey's situation, I don't think that I would be too happy with my significant other waltzing in the house at 3:30 in the morning, smelling of alcohol, when we just spent a holiday separate. I haven't seen you in, basically 24 hours, and now you're waltzing in the house under the influence. Like, what's going on here? I would have definitely wanted some answers. That's not going to be a situation where we just go to bed and ignore that this is even happening. So I think that tensions were already high based on what she was telling friends with the DV issues. And I believe that her not spending Thanksgiving and then coming home in the middle of the night under the influence of alcohol could have put Tom in a upset state of mind. So that's it as far as the Thursday evening, technically very early Friday morning timeline. Black Friday starts at 7:30 a.m. with Tanya responding to that text that Alexis had sent saying, "Are you up?" Basically just acknowledging that she had missed Alexis's text from 3 o'clock in the morning. 9 a.m. Alexis responds to Tanya, and then around 10:15, Tanya actually offers Alexis to bring her stuff to her house. Whatever she had at Tanya's house, Tanya said, "Do you want me to bring it over?" That's what friends do, right? So at 10 after 11, Alexis declines Tanya's offer to bring her belongings to her house. She said, "No, it's fine. I'm just going to come pick them up myself." Texts continue to go back and forth for about 15 minutes after that. So that's it as far as her morning conversation with Tanya. It picks back up around 5:45 p.m. with Alexis asking Tanya, is she going out tonight? It was Friday night. It was a holiday weekend. She wanted to know what was going on. Tanya replies saying no, she did have her mother in town for the Thanksgiving weekend, so she wasn't going to go out, but Alexis expressed that she still wanted to go out. It was Friday night. She was in the mood to go out. And I completely remember when I was going out on a very normal basis, Thanksgiving weekend for bars was always the best time. I don't know why, but the Wednesday, like the night before Thanksgiving, and then Black Friday and that Saturday were always, everywhere was packed. Everyone was out having fun, assuming that they were in town. So I can only imagine she was probably in the mood to go out. If things aren't going well at home, she doesn't want to be at home with Tom. So she's like, what's good? Let's go out. And at 6:05, Tanya replies, and Alexis's phone had read receipts on, showing that Alexis actually read that last text from Tanya. And that's it. That's her last communication with her friend Tanya at 6:05 p.m. Shortly after that, at 6:28 p.m., Alexis's last outgoing message actually goes to her friend Sebastian, the same guy that she went to the bar with and was DMing with on Instagram. So between 7 and 7:30, this is where things start to get very, very interesting. Allegedly, what had happened, according to Tom, is that he and Alexis had an argument, a disagreement. I can only imagine when there's turmoil in the relationship, asking someone to unload the dishwasher can just erupt in argument. I don't know what their argument was about, but allegedly they had one. What she decided to do was leave the house with no shoes, jump a fence, and get into a car, a black SUV that was waiting for her. So she left the house with nothing, no shoes, no phone. You guys, when I heard this as his story of events that happened, I had so many questions off the bat. First of all, if you're in a heated argument and you want to leave the house, the first thing you're going to do is put your shoes on and grab your phone. So aside from her not having shoes, that being very bizarre to me, let's also talk about her not having her phone. Alexis was someone who was consistently on her phone, always on social media. I think even if she wasn't always on social media and always, on her phone, if you're leaving your home, you take your phone. I can't tell you guys the last time I left my house and I had no phone on me. I really cannot tell you the last time. Since the time I've had a cell phone, it is always with me when I leave my home. Tom did later change his story to state that Alexis was wearing running shoes when she left the house and she wasn't actually barefoot. And as far as the 30-minute time window that Tom provided where he was searching for Alexis, assuming that she left the house shortly before 7, he left the house after her and is looking for her. If I was looking for my husband or my boyfriend or my girlfriend or whoever, one thing I can guarantee you is I'm going to spend a lot more than 30 minutes looking for them. In between 7:30 and 9:30, this is very bizarre to me, but allegedly Tom loses cell phone service, which No idea how in a city like Houston you can lose cell phone service. So instead of driving around until he gets cell phone service again, going to his house where he knows he has cell phone service, he could have gone anywhere, but he decided to go to a gas station and sit at the gas station for 2 hours. I just don't understand why, if your significant other is missing and you're out looking for them and you lose cell phone service, why would that ever cross your mind to go sit at a gas station for 2 hours? There are so many other circumstances that would make more sense than to go sit at a gas station for 2 hours. And are you trying to tell me that the gas station had no cell service? I have a very hard time believing that there are that many drop zones in a major city like Houston, Texas. Come on. Around 9:30, Tom decides to reach out to Alexis's friend Chelsea, her boyfriend John. So Tom reaches out to John via Messenger. I don't know if it was Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, I don't know. But he decides to inquire, have they heard from Alexis? What's going on? And then we jump to 10 o'clock and Sebastian messages Alexis to say that he's off work for the evening. So at 11 o'clock, John, who is Chelsea's boyfriend, gets back in contact with Tom Sharkey. They talk for about 45 minutes on the phone about what's going on. Alexis and I had this disagreement. She's gone. I don't know where she is. I don't know what's going on. And they talked for 45 minutes about this. I think that that's a long conversation to have when your wife is literally missing. Why wouldn't you ask if they had heard from her? Okay, you didn't. Bye. I'm calling the next person. I'm going back out looking in every crack and crevice in Houston until I find my wife. Call it 11:45 at night. That is the last conversation that Tom has with anyone. Allegedly, Saturday, the following day, he finally decides to contact Alexis's mom, Stacy, and let her know that her daughter is missing. He has no idea where her daughter is, where his wife is, where is Alexis. We have no idea. I have a lot of problems with it taking this long for him to reach out to her. Now, I don't know if he was thinking, well, she'll come back, it'll all be fine. I think in the back of his mind, I mean, I'll tell you guys what I think at the end of the video, but I do have a problem with him not even remotely mentioning that Alexis was missing. That doesn't sit well with me. So on that same Saturday is when the worker in Houston, Texas was driving down, I think it's Red Hall Street or Road. I'll put the name on the screen so that I have it correct. That's when he drove by. He saw what he thought was the mannequin, and he, I feel so bad for this guy who found her, because you can see in his interviews that he is just shaken to the core. And this is obviously an image that he will never forget for the rest of his life. I can only imagine that image just replaying in his head every single day. I feel really, really bad for the guy. I'll link some YouTube videos in my description box where you guys can see different interviews and other, stuff like that. So on the same Saturday that Alexis was found on this road and taken to the medical examiner's office, it was announced that a Jane Doe was found. And Tom decides to take it upon himself to go to the medical examiner's office to ID the Jane Doe. Now, what I don't understand about this is him just taking it upon himself so quickly to go over to the medical examiner's office to ID a woman that he had no clue if it was even Alexis. Did he know that she was passed? Did he know that she was going to be found on the side of that road? I have a lot of questions as to why he was so quick to go down there and why the police, I hope the police saw it as bizarre as I do. So there are a couple other theories that I want to talk to you guys about regarding how Alexis came to the end of her life. The first one is that she was an escort. Her and her friends were very pretty, young, attractive. They were popular on social media. And there's a really high-end hotel in Houston. I'll throw an image so you guys can see what I'm talking about, where allegedly there are a lot of escorts that work out of this hotel. It's a lot of high-end clients stay there, and that's the kind of activity that is infamous for going on at this hotel. I don't personally think that she was doing any escorting in my personal opinion. I think that Alexis was someone who really loved being around her friends. I just don't believe that the escort thing led to the end of her life. I don't really see Alexis doing any escorting, my personal opinion. But even if it was part of the situation, I don't believe that it had anything to do with her untimely passing. The last rumor that I want to talk to you guys about is the OD rumor. I'll put text on the screen. So allegedly, Alexis and her group of friends were into partying with a white substance. And this is very common. You know, honestly, like I'll tell you guys, I've been in the club scene and I've been in that scene where you're going out 6 nights a week and, you know, it's just balls to the wall every single night. I'm very familiar with kind of what people are trying to portray her as. But in my opinion, I think that Alexis was someone who liked to have a little, you know, recreational use from, you know, time to time. But I don't believe that this was some sort of like accidental OD where her friends were with her and kind of like chucked her out of the car. The fact that she was found nude, I think, is very personal. And knowing the history of Tom, he seems very vindictive. I think as a final way to embarrass her, he made it a point that she was not clothed. In my opinion, I think Tom Sharkey has a ton of explaining to do. The last thing that I'll say, and the reason that I'm looking at him pretty much solely in this situation as far as suspects go, Alexis's mother wanted to give her a proper burial in her home state of Pennsylvania. Remember, I said she was a Pennsylvania native. Her mother, Stacy, essentially had to fight Tom for 2 weeks to gain control of her daughter's body. I think that him doing this really drives home the point that he was controlling. And in my personal opinion, the way that she was discovered speaks to how vindictive he was. Here's kind of my overall thoughts on this case. I think Tom Sharkey was someone who met Alexis, fell head over heels because she's drop dead gorgeous, and I think that she had a lot to bring to the table. Great personality, really smart, really pretty, probably a ton of fun to go out with. And I think that he had never planned on her becoming part of this Monat business and finding any amount of success. I also don't think that he would have ever imagined that she would have been sharing so much on social media and gaining such traction on Instagram. I think that he wanted someone young and pretty and fun, but I think he wanted her all to himself. And once it got to the point where she was sharing her life and her pictures and, you know, being so open with a lot of her followers on Instagram with just little pieces of her life, I don't think that that sat well with Tom. I think at the end of the day, Tom Sharkey felt very jealous and like he was at the end of a rope with Alexis. I think that he only saw her going up, and his internalized rage for this situation going up as well. And I think that's why he sent that text to her when she was in Mexico, and, you know, as a way to kind of ruin her day, ruin her fun time that she was having, you know, on this trip. And I think in between him sending that text over the next, chunk of time. I think that there was probably a fair amount of DV going on in the house. I think that they were probably fighting way more often than any couple ever wants to argue. And I think that Tom's, irritation and being upset over the whole situation probably peaked. He might have even gone through her phone and seen that she was DMing Sebastian. She didn't want to spend Thanksgiving with him. I think all of these things just fed into his internalized anger over what his marriage had become. So Alexis's autopsy has not been released yet. I will be keeping an eye out for it, and I will update you guys when more information comes out on this case that is worth sharing. This is just really unfortunate. It's really sad. It's sad to see what, anytime I see these true crime cases, I just always look at it like, and I know that it's all alleged right now. This is all my opinion, on how I feel about Tom. But I do look at a lot of these cases and I just think, if y'all could have just had a clean break and gone your separate ways, one person in this marriage or this relationship would still be alive. And I think that's what really tugs at my heartstrings a lot, is just, if you're in a relationship and you're that unhappy, just cut ties. It might be really, really, really hard to go through a breakup, but it's not worth getting rid of the person and eventually spending the rest of your life in prison. It's just not worth it. So my heart breaks for Alexis, her friends, her family. I know a lot of people are side-eyeing her friend Tanya. I don't think there's anything up with Tanya, in my personal opinion. I do think that she was really quick to do an interview and talk to the press. Do I think she's a little awkward? Yes, but I, in my opinion, don't think that she had anything to do with the passing of Alexis. So anyway, you guys, I hope that all of this made sense. I hope that it was cohesive. There are a lot of little details in this case and a lot of different ways to look at it. So I definitely want to know what you guys think. Have you heard of this case? Are you following it? Did you only see it, maybe once and you haven't really looked into it? Definitely let's talk in the comment section. But I did want to get this video out for you guys, and more true crime is coming. I kind of took a break there for a little while, but I will continue to sprinkle true crime stuff into my videos because it is something that I am very, very, very interested in, as always. So for now, if you like the video, please leave me a like and a comment. And if you'd like to see more from me in the future, please subscribe. I'll see you guys soon. Bye.